Hey friends, you're listening to Crescendo, where the journey of self-discovery meets the adventure of entrepreneurship for freelancers, solopreneurs, and small business owners. Did you notice that I changed that up a little bit there? That's how business goes. You try messaging, see what sticks, and then iterate. And what I've discovered in the process is that many of my listeners don't necessarily identify with that word entrepreneur. Now, you might not think of yourself that way, but here's the thing. You're out there doing incredible work, getting paid for it, and building a life that lets you work on your own time and terms. So it's the essence of entrepreneurship, whether you call it that or not. And all of it is where my passion comes in. As an entrepreneur turned business mentor and strategist, I'm here to guide women like you to build businesses that align with who you are at your core, the positive change you want to see in the world, and the financial security you desire. To support you in achieving all of this and success, however you might define it, I'm always creating programs designed to help you take actionable steps towards your goals. And that's why I'm so excited to share that registration is now open for my annual Revenue Roadmap Workshop, an in-person event this year here in Modi'in on December 11th, where we'll spend 5 hours together mapping out your personalized strategy and action plan for 2025. If you've ever struggled to put strategy behind your to-do list or felt like you're spinning your wheels, this workshop will be a game changer. I have been running this workshop for years, and it is one of my most well-attended events because the revenue roadmap works. I guarantee you'll walk away with clarity, focus, and a clear roadmap to achieve your goals in the new year. Now, to get all the details and to register, head on over to my website at www.realimpact.com, which is RELIMPACT.com. I'd love to see you there. And now on to today's guest. I'm thrilled to welcome my friend and one of my mentors, Susan Kramer, a trailblazer in nonprofit development who has spent decades leading transformational fundraising initiatives and mentoring the next generation of leaders. From raising millions in gifts to building innovative programs that engage 21st century donors, Susan's expertise has reshaped organizations and empowered countless individuals. Today, she partners with executives, boards, and teams to create a new paradigm of donor development, one that reinvigorates passion, strengthens teams, and taps into new sources of funding. Susan Kramer, welcome to Crescendo. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thanks.
It's been too long. This is going to be such a good conversation. I love sharing our story of how we met because it really highlights the power of connection and building genuine relationships, and also leaning into the courage that it takes sometimes to ask the questions in the first place. I don't know if you remember back, but you came to St. Louis, where I must have been a lay leader at the time, and you spoke to a group of women about an opportunity to go to Israel. And I was totally taken by you. It was the way that you presented yourself, the way that you engaged listeners, the way that you talked about what it is that you were promoting. I was like, I have to know this woman. And fast forward, I don't know, it was probably 5 or 6 months, and Adam and I had decided to actually move our family to Denver. And I looked you up. I don't know if you remember this. And I was at this juncture in my professional life and trying to figure out if I was going to go into consulting or coaching and kind of what my niche was going to be. And I just said, like, hey, Susan, can we have coffee? I don't even know you, but I just felt like you were somebody I needed to know. And I call it a big hot love fest. I just feel like in that moment, I was so happy to be sitting with you. And we just ignited this really wonderful friendship.
We were at what's now Unravel Coffee. I know where we were sitting, and I was talking to you about Kelly and all the people that you had to meet, and here's your list and go after it. And yes, I remember. And I remember the house we were at in St. Louis. She collected hearts. She had all these
That's so
great.
funny.
Yeah.
I don't remember the hearts. I really only remember you. and your energy and everything you brought. And it took me so much courage to reach out to you because I'm like, here's this superstar of a woman, Susan. I don't know really what she's all about, but I could tell she's like a bigwig. And yeah, I think it just goes to show you that like we're all dealing with real people.
For sure. I mean, yes, yes. Big wigs and dignitaries have all the same, and I don't consider myself that. I mean, with all humility, I say I'm kind of like a cuckoo bird with fairy wings on my wall, but I know my lane and I know my industry. So I'm always available for conversations. You know why? Because I want other people to be available for conversations with me. So it's like it's every way. It's a 360 around being available for other people and hoping other people will be available for you. So I feel like the more you give away, the more you're going to be able to get back. So it's an ecosystem.
It is. That's a beautiful way to put it. Okay, I actually want to go back now to, we're going to get into kind of where you are today, but you've had an incredible journey and it's really been quite unique. You started as a hairdresser. Okay, you didn't start out as in fundraising. Can you share a little bit about that chapter of your life and how it shaped who you became and how you approach your work today as a result?
It's a great question. So I was in college like everybody does, after high school, and I didn't have my way. And I went to interview the owner of a hair salon and beauty school. And in interviewing him, he said to me, well, what are you going to do when you get out of college? I'm like, I don't know. He said, what, like work at Sears? He said, I actually think you'd make a great hairdresser. And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds like fun. So he was a successful businessman. At the time, he was probably in his 30s, owned multiple salons. I knew he drove a Rolls Royce. I thought, this guy's cool. This guy's cool. So I'm okay, well, maybe I'll do that because I was directionless. And they say, in your journey, there's certain magic moments. And for me, not really having a voice in high school, not really having a sense of who I was, this decision was one of the best decisions of my life. I found my voice. And I learned how to build a relationship in 3 minutes or less. So I became a successful hairdresser and a salon owner. And there was a lot that came with that. The community I built, the people I met, the relationships I had. And that 3 minutes or less is a skill and talent that every fundraiser needs. And I always say, if you don't know where to find your next fundraiser, they're cutting hair behind the chair in some salon in your neighborhood because it is a relationship-based business. So I feel like it was a very controversial decision for my mother, who hated the idea. I, of course, went back, got a degree. I have an advanced degree, a master's in nonprofit management, but it was someplace that absolutely gave me a voice and showed me that everyone is different. And everybody comes at things differently. We never know. And we have to have the courage to change and evolve and trust that everything we have accomplished is leading us to where we are right now. And I love that.
When I think about Susan Kramer, one of the ideas that I often think back to is this one of like how every experience is a stepping stone to next. And you really like championed that. How did you make the leap though? I mean, you are successful, right? You had made a name for yourself, found your voice, were a salon owner. Why did you make the leap and how did you make the leap then from the 3 minutes in the chair to guiding organizations and raising millions of dollars?
Yeah. So moved to Colorado from Maryland. My salon was in College Park, Maryland. It was called Taglio for Hair. Moved to Colorado, really 2 kids, 2 cars, wanted a different life. Came to Colorado so that we could raise free range kids. Truth. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we did that to a fault. They're very free range and they're adults now. But we moved here for that purpose to really experience something different. So in coming to Colorado, I wasn't going to bring that career with me. I was going to look at what could I do differently. And when you move into a brand new area, you have to get busy as a volunteer. Woody Allen says showing up is 90% of the game. So I started showing up. I started showing up every place I could. I happened to be, in a very Jewish lane. So I had a day school, and there was a preschool, and there were synagogues, and there was a JCC. And so the more I showed up, the more I enjoyed volunteering. And then eventually I said to myself, I think I'm going to have to get a job. And I think that if I could make a living at my hobby, I remember saying, if I could make a living at my hobby, how fortunate I would be. So I founded the Boulder Jewish Festival with a colleague, Kathy Adler of blessed memory. And that got me noticed. Who is she and where did she come from? Because there wasn't a Jewish festival in Boulder. And so the who is she and where did she come from led me to an interview with the Jewish Federation of Denver. And I asked the CEO years and years later, how did you hire me? Like, why did you hire me? My resume had 0 on it that would identify me as the right candidate for this job. My resume legitimately said hairdresser. So he said to me, do you think I wanted to work with people like me all day long? It's like, that would be terrible. So he saw something in me, and I am eternally grateful to him for what he saw, because he gave me a life, a career, and really meaning, unbelievable meaning. That's my
What a
hairdresser.
gift. Yeah, yeah. It's really a wow story. I mean, the belief that he showed in you, but also the belief that you had to have in yourself to go after something that I don't know. Did you feel like you were qualified at the time for it? Did you feel like you were ready for it?
It wasn't even a question. I didn't know any better. Okay, what I knew how to do was gather people and have fun. Okay, I knew how to do that from when I was a little girl, throwing friends' birthday parties. I knew that in my invisible thread, I could gather people and I could have fun, and people would show up. There's a book called Wishcraft by Barbara Sher, and she talks about the life that you can create for yourself. That was pivotal for me when I took her seminar in Washington, D.C. before I moved to Colorado. The work was pivotal because it's like, figure out what you're good at. And that was the thread. I'm good at gathering people. People will come to my parties still today. People will come to my parties.
And you throw the best parties. You really do. What was it? Was it your 60th birthday that was in that boutique?
Yeah, it was in Mercer Place, a thrift store with a 4-piece string quartet and great food, great music. And somebody walked into the party at the consignment shop and said, boy, is this on brand. So to have parties that are on brand, it's like very fun, very fun.
Yeah.
For my 65th this year, which is coming up soon, we're doing vision boarding. We're having a big boarding party. Yeah.
That sounds great. Actually, that brings me back to when you and I actually started thought partnering together. I was just getting started again as a consultant and dabbling in some coaching, but really still trying to figure out where I was going to land. And you invited in this other woman, Kelly Path, that you've mentioned already. And the three of us became this thought group, this business bestie group that really supported each other. And that was one of the first exercises was it Kelly led both of us through? Do you remember that in your basement? We put up all those white
Absolutely. I
sheets
still
on the
have the
walls.
charts. I still have the charts. Yeah, I still have them because that was 2017. And that was trying to organize thought around where our direction might go. And of course, Kelly is an amazing facilitator and can direct in the most beautiful way. Yeah, and then we met every month, this little mastermind group. It took me 2 years, and this is important for those who are considering launching. You don't just launch, you got to ready, aim, launch. Not too much ready, not too much aim, but enough ready, aim, launch. So from 2017 to 2019, I was in the space with the two of you, trying to outline what that would look like, and creating some side hustles along the way, but really. And your work, Rachel, in my notebooks that I have, where you lay out your goals by month with the sticky notes, that was critical work because it organized the chaos. And if you want to start a business and you've never started a business, you need coaches. I like to say today, watching the Olympics, You think there's any athlete on the field that doesn't have a coach? Anyone? No. And many of them have multiple coaches. So it's critical if we want to step into anything new or achieve excellence that you get a coach or two or three or four. At that birthday party you talk about, I had 5 coaches in the room that night. And it's just like, how crazy are you really? It's like not, because I had 5 coaches in the room that night celebrating.
Yeah, we were all celebrating you and also I think giving you the loving encouragement to step out on your own. You were, what were you, 50 when you started this business? In your late 50s, we'll just call it.
Yeah, it turned 60. Yeah, it had just it launched in September of 2019, turned 60 in December of 2019.
Okay. And we had been meeting together regularly for a couple of years, and Kelly and I would always tell you just how much we believed in you and felt like if you could go off on your own and do your own thing and bring your expertise to a larger stage and to more people and organizations, that your life would be richer as a result, but also you would be able to support so just countless more people. I want you to talk about why it was so difficult to make that move, because I think that that's something that so many people can relate to, whether it's starting the business or doing the next thing in their business. There's always that fear that comes up, and I would love for you just to give it a little bit of the story and a name so that people um, feel seen in your story as well.
Yeah, so at the core of the fear is that I am the wage earner in my home. And when you make a change from leaving the comfort of a regular paycheck, and you have the security or the illusion that that will always be there, because it's all illusion after all. So we really don't know, we just think we know. So when I was deciding to launch, it came from really a pivotal moment, and that was a friend of mine, Ruth Toltz. She was dying, and I was with her, sort of would visit her. And I looked at her and thought, when I get to the end of my life, what will I regret not doing? And it was a very loud and clear answer: launching my own consultancy. That would be my regret. Making the decision to do that, I would literally lay on the floor and talk to the sky and say, all right, God, you provided 2 portions of manna in the desert on Friday. I'm just going to need to be able to support my family. It's not as big as manna in the desert. So, there was prayer and there's faith. And there's the velocity. I have a friend that said, well, Susan, you have velocity, because I did create some side hustles that would create a proving if I even had what it was going to take. So those side hustles really began to also get in the way of my day job. So if you're considering launching into your own consultancy, take on 1 or 2 practice clients so that you can get a sense and frame what it is that you think is going to be your direction. Now, you have to also be willing to redirect, because what I know today in my 6th year is very different than what I knew then. I didn't imagine I'd be in the sort of management strategy and things like that. The other thing is surrounding yourself with people that also believe in you and have done it and have the expertise to keep doing it. The tribe changed. My tribe became solopreneurs like yourself and all the beautiful women you introduced me to who are solopreneurs. So, Carrie and Jess and Elaine and the women who we were in retreat with in the mountains, in the snow, drinking tequila. Those women who could see you as you are and believe in you. Jenny also was there. That's the group. Surround yourself with people who have done it, are doing it, and believe in you to be able to get it done. Also, to the affirmations. I have a silly thing that has really sustained me. It's very, very silly. Or we might say, you are a badass. This is not a paid advertising, but let me say something. That since 2020, January 1st, 2020, I have been ripping off a page a day since 2020. So the affirmation I have been getting every day since from a $14.99 calendar is that I'm a badass. And it goes in eventually. And I'll meet clients. I'll go, I don't know, let me consult the Oracle for today. It has made a difference in your belief system about who you are and what you're capable of. Surround yourself with tools, whatever your tools are, for that. I believe in myself and I can accomplish. And it's scary. And it has peaks and valleys. And so what? So does employment. And with employment, you're not your own boss. That's the story.
It's such a good story. And I remember when you got your first calendar, you were a badass calendar. I think I might have even told you about it. I don't remember, and you started ripping those off. And I just love hearing that you're still kind of like swearing by this $14.99 calendar that is serving you every day. But this really goes to show you the power of a growth mindset and being open to receiving the messages.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yes. And faith, like there's clients that I've been with since the beginning. Will that last forever? No, but did I have a sense of who was coming next ever? Anyway, this has all been word of mouth. I don't have a big advertising campaign. I am a street dog, and let me comment on street dog or house dog. So there's two kinds of pets. Behind you, Rachel, is a house dog. Up on the couch, off the couch, feed me, keep me warm. He hears me talking about him. So that's a house dog. They're street dogs. They're out on the streets. They're going to kill it to eat it. So you have to have a street dog mentality. So I go everywhere. I do as much as I can. I show up everywhere I can and talk about what I'm doing, because you never know who will introduce you to whom. I'm going to give an example. I became an artist during COVID. I think it's interesting. So I was in an art show. That was also very cool, coming out as an artist in an art show. I really liked one of the artists, so we had coffee because her art was gorgeous. I wanted to learn more about her. She said to me at coffee, I don't think I'm meeting you for me and you. My husband just became a development director at an organization, and he really doesn't know this lane. He became a client. So that came from being in an art show, taking that risk to bring my stuff amongst very professional artists, reaching out to have coffee. So you got to keep showing up. And if your comfort zone is staying inside behind your desk comfortably, it's going to be hard, because the business is just not going to fall in your lap. You're going to have to go after it and show up in the environments where you could potentially find the business.
Yeah, I often talk about identifying your unique communication love language. And I use that term just lovingly, but it's really just the intersection of like the way that you like to show up, right? Whether that's speaking, one-on-one, on big stages, if you like to write, if you like to, I don't know, lead and teach or whatever, right? It's like thinking about what are your skills? What are your strengths? What do you enjoy? Where do you enjoy being? And then think about, okay, well, then where does all of that intersect with where my ideal clients hang out? And then the point that you're making, which is, and then just do it consistently. And really, it seems so simple because it is. It is so simple. It's literally being consistent, like choosing the thing and doing the thing consistently. And that's what you're talking about. And when you do that, it works. Your business will work.
Magic happens.
Yeah.
Is it magic or is it just magical? And, there's certain methodology I've created. And I'll say it's not magic necessarily, but it is magical. So there are
Mhm.
magical things that happen. And when you, just show up, keep showing up again in the environments where your potential clients are. And sometimes it doesn't work. So although I might want something to work, I'll say you can't push a square wheel up a hill. So I might want this lane to work desperately, but it doesn't feel like there's a flow. Again, go with the flow kind of thing. Where's the flow? And step into that flow. Yeah.
This is a show about women finding and amplifying their voices in business. And you actually had this gift of really finding your voice as a hairdresser, but then you reinvented yourself and you went in to work for other organizations and you worked your way up and you made a name for yourself within the nonprofit space, but then you went off on your own. Do you feel like you found your voice in your own business? And how have you been able to amplify it and use it in ways that you were never able to previously?
It's such a good question. So let me just say, I never knew I was smart. Never. I grew up, I'm 65, nobody told me I was smart. Girls, I don't know. Was it gender? Maybe. Was it my family? Maybe, but never knew. And then I launched my own business and smart people started hiring me, really smart people. And I'm like, whoa, these are some smart people. And I'm their thought partner and I'm helping them with their direction. So amplifying my voice is, I have 30 years of experience in nonprofit fundraising, and I've done it successfully. The methodology I've created, I really want to share it with everyone. I would like bigger stages because I am using human-centered design and deep listening to excavate the passion of the donor in order to raise transformational money. And that's a sentence that is at the essence of what I'm doing. And
Can you
again,
say it again, Susan? Yeah, say it again. It's really, really good.
I'm using human-centered design to excavate the passions of the donor, to move them from transactional to transformational giving. We are not here to sell, tell, and convince a donor to give money. It doesn't work. This doesn't work. How can I convince them? I'm like, well, you can convince them to give you go away money. Go away. But you will never convince them to give you a transformational gift. You need to understand what's most important to them. So that methodology it's working. And the pleasure I get watching fundraisers have it working, $10,000 to $60,000 gifts, $1,000 to $18,000 gifts. It's a reverse engineering of what you think is what you should be doing. That's one big part. The other is sort of data and analytics. And I always say, I've got fairy wings on my wall, but I am a data geek when it comes to this. So it's art, which is intuition and storytelling, but the science is, what does the data tell you? I think very recently I had somebody say, well, I asked them for X. And I said, why? Why? Because if you go into the data, you'll get a sense of their average gift and you'll know that you're under asking. So data is going to guide us. And the AI that has come around since I became a fundraiser, the intelligence that we have access to at the push of a button. And I'm very into a couple of different platforms for this. It's mind-boggling what you can learn when you start getting into the science of fundraising. I love it. I love dissecting lists. I encourage my clients, get out the list. Now let's dissect it. Pull it apart. Like we used to do frogs in science class. Let's just dissect this list. Hated that science class frog thing, but
The worst. That was the worst.
the worst. So
Do they
it's
still
just,
do that? I don't know. I hope they
I don't
don't
know.
still do that.
It's been so much joy in seeing the aha moments and really helping the fundraisers and the philanthropists understand, the real passion of this. Oh, and I have so many cool tricks for this. So many. Anyway.
Yeah, I want to bring this back to business for solopreneurs and small business owners. And what you're talking about is exactly the same process that we ought to be going through, right? If we're doing it correctly, as salespeople in our own businesses. This idea of sell, tell, and convince, right? It doesn't work. It does not work. It is the opposite from what maybe old world sales trainings looked like. It is completely relationship based. And I like how you brought this together. It's the data mixed with the art, the story, the intuition, bringing the two together. And it's all based on value. right? It's all based on what is it that, as you're saying in the donor space, what is it that the don't ignites the donor's interest? Well, in our businesses, it's what ignites our customers' interests. What is it that they're seeking? And how can we then serve that and deliver that? But it's not about selling, it's not about convincing. And I think when we do that shift, when we make that shift to building the relationships and really putting those pieces together, we ditch the high pressure vibes that I think often, taint the process and really affect the end results.
There's a client right now that has been not sure about hiring me for months. And I just know I can help them. I just know I can. I mean, I know I can. So I woke up this morning and I'm like, give it away for free for the beginning. I'm just going to do a certain number of hours. It could be a lost leader, could result in nothing, but if be willing to let go also. Be willing to give of your time. Don't be too selfish with what it is that you know that you need. Don't be too selfish with it, because really power's in letting go. So those hours where it's just like, well, let me just get inside of it with you, because I'm speaking a language that is very unfamiliar to so many in the nonprofit lane. It's just like, let me get inside of it with you a little bit. And then you'll decide if I'm right for the team or not. I mean, I know, I know that I can make a difference. Sometimes I'm just going to give it away and then, hope they become that client. But I'm definitely not afraid of that, of the giving it away, because of this methodology that is unique, and faith that the clients will be there, and who needs to hear the message will. It's not easy to do that. And I always have to remind myself every single day, keep moving forward. The business part, though, I want to comment on that, Rachel. From the very beginning, I am not comfortable with the least viable product. I'm not. I had people say to me, well, if it's the least viable product, I'm like, I can't. 5 rounds on a logo and then had to get rid of that person because it didn't get, some people would say, okay, this is the 5th round. I'm just going to use one of them. And it's like, I can't. So for my own personal business and the work I do on and in my own business with a business manager, with graphic artists, I don't think I can do it all myself. I can't do it all myself. And the willingness to put together a team, and then believe that if I can provide sort of revenue for other people through my business, not think I can do it myself, I believe I'll stay whole. So I always felt like the more people, solopreneurs that I can bring on this journey with me, talented people, the more I believe I'll stay whole in this journey. And there's some people out there that are making some nice side hustle money as a result of this team.
It's a beautiful idea. When we step out, when we launch our own businesses, there are a couple things that I'm hearing. One, you're able to empower and support other people. I mean, you've built a team of people who now also have the freedom and the flexibility and the meaningful work that they were seeking. And two, I can't help but think, with this methodology that you've created, there was no way that could have been born within one individual organization, right? This is a new paradigm that is literally shifting the fundraising rules that exist in the industry. And this needs to exist so that anybody who's fundraising has access to it. And when I think about that, I think about it's almost like, when you talk about that client that you can help, that's how I felt when we were masterminding together. I'm like, I look at this woman, Susan Kramer, and I'm like, but you have inside of you this massive thing that needs to be birthed into the world. And what a shame it would be for it to stay there and not be able to serve thousands of other people who could benefit tremendously from it. So, yeah, I'm just like wowed I'm wowed, like looking back now, 5 or 6 years at how all of that came to be.
From the bottom of my heart, I could never say enough to thank you for believing in me. And the women who were at that mountain house when you asked us each to tell our story, and I told mine on the whiteboard, and all of you said, "What are you waiting for? We don't get it." And all the women who said, "What are you waiting for? We don't get it." I had to that believe in me, right? Because, right, remember, I didn't know I was smart. Chutzpah, moxie, a personality, sure. I got all that. But I never had the other piece until launching. So, yeah, the surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. Now, I find myself saying it today too. I have people that are working with me that are so talented, but they're stuck in their full-time jobs, which limits the amount of time they can spend for some of my clients. I'm like, oh my God, I need more time from you. I need more time for you. But they are where I was, so talented, but don't believe in themselves to be able to launch, and or don't want to do the street dog work, because you have to. It's not falling in our laps. You have to go after it. There's so many opportunities out there, and another important piece, and I got it from the calendar. Twiggy doesn't want to be Marilyn Monroe. Mozart didn't want to be Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin didn't want to be Mozart. Early in my journey, I had to stop comparing myself to other people in my lane. It was very detrimental. And I was comparing myself to people who had been doing it for 11 years. I was one. And I'm like, but look what they've got, but look what they've got, but look what they've got, but look. And it's just like, Susan, you've got to stop. Because my desire to achieve and succeed, those comparisons created way too much noise, way too much noise. It takes work today. Now I use those things as resource or ideas, but you can't have the noise. Know what is your unique value proposition and what you can uniquely bring to the table. And you're not, I'm going to try to be the best Susan Kramer consulting I can be, not compare myself to the others. Maybe they're comparing themselves to me. Maybe they're saying, well, how do we do what she's doing? Maybe they are. I don't know.
How do we get some of those fairy wings?
How do we get fairy wings? Right.
Everybody wants fairy wings. There's one last question that I ask all of my guests. I feel like you've already answered it though, which is around a tip that you have for other women striving to honor their authentic voice. And I think if there's anything else you want to add, please do. But you've already shared so much wisdom with us, and we can summarize in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it is related to coaching and surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, really and truly, investing in yourself to get to those dreams. And ask yourself, when I get to the end of my life, what will I regret not doing? And when that answer comes from a deep place inside you, from your intuition and that still small voice, when I get to the end of my life, what will I regret not doing? Go after it. Go after it.
Susan, thank you so much. I loved this conversation, reconnecting with you. I miss you. And I'm just so happy to see you shining so brightly. I wish you continued hatzlacha, success in your business. And want to remind all of our listeners, Susan even talked about some of my goal setting and action planning tools that I use and the sticky notes. And I want to remind you to head over to my website, www.realimpact.com, to get all the details about the upcoming Revenue Roadmap event and to secure your spot. I will see you there. And until next time, keep sharing your voice.